All right, I think we're officially live here. Let me just check real quick with Bill if we're streaming. Good?
There's a little bit of delay, so there's going to
Okay.
be about a 20 to 30-second delay. So just
Okay.
we're good.
All right, sounds good. All right, hello everyone. For those of you that I don't know, this is our first Google Hangout. We're going to be doing more of these, probably one a month on reihangouts.com. Today we have a special guest. I've known him for about 2 years, and I was trying to learn about probate, so I seeked out the best person I knew, and that's Gary DiGrazia, Mr. Probate. And he's got a PowerPoint presentation he's going to go over. We're also going to kind of have an interview style format as well. So without further ado, I'm going to share Gary's PowerPoint and have him introduce himself and tell you a little bit more about what he does, and whether you're a real estate agent or an investor, you're going to learn a ton. So make sure you have your notebook out, and let's get started.
Hey, thanks, Bo. Appreciate it very much. I'm hearing a little echo here, but thank you for having me. And just want to make sure our audio all dialed in because I'm getting the feedback.
We might be getting a little feedback because Junior might want to mute his.
Gary, you got to mute yours. It's good. Okay.
Now it's good.
Okay, great. Well, Bo, again, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been great, learning what you do over this last 2 years, and you're an innovator, and I'm glad I was able to speak to one of your groups live here in Walnut Creek this year, and now you're reaching out to further areas in Reno and Las Vegas, and I have students all through there and across the country. So what I want to share with people that might not be in Northern California and have heard me speak about what I do, because I pretty much, I stay within the confines of Alameda County in the Bay Area. We work to 7 counties around the Bay, but I don't venture off too much, although I have students in just about every state in the country, and we are now opening in Southern California, and we'll move into San Diego soon. But what I want to talk about and kind of open the eyes to your audience tonight is what I've been doing for the last 28 years of my 41 years in Bay Area real estate, is the niche of probate real estate. Now, over the years, there's been myths everywhere about the probate business, and it's not really a good place to be for investors or agents, because you end up losing your deals in court, or your commissions are cut, or whatever. And I've been spreading the word. Now, I haven't really spoke a lot about what I do until the last 3 or 4 years. I probably made maybe 5 over 15, 20 years that I've been actually out and spoke to groups and some conventions and broker offices, because I actually do what I talk about. I work it, and we do a lot of production every year. We have just closed out a fine year, 2015, with just about close to 12 million in production, all probates, none of it on the MLS, and that's what we're going to be talking to you guys, because we all know our markets have dried up for investors pretty much. Trustee sales are out, REOs are basically out, short sales have slowed way down, and where do we go to find our properties so we can flip or wholesale or rehab, rebuild, or whatever we're doing? So that has naturally brought more people to look at in the probate arena, and it has created some competition. But although there's more guys than ever before, when I started doing probate real estate back in 1987, there's more guys out there, mentors, teaching the probate systems and whatever. Most of those are just getting you to the courthouse file, and there's so much more in that involved in actually closing a probate real estate deal. But if you'll take the time to learn it, and as I tell my students who come across, that just stay with this until you do one deal, whether that takes you 3 months, a year, or up to 2 years. Stay with it, and then see if your eyes are open to a whole nother world of real estate that you've been missing. And this is for your investor flips, your wholesalers, your landlord keeping property, and your retail agents that are selling property to their buyers, especially in a market like now where there's no inventory. The inventory is way down. So what we've been doing is in the 7 counties around the Bay Area, we've been tracking, or we do track, and I've been doing this since '87. I track, although I started in 1 county, we track every probate that is established at the courthouse that has real estate in it. And that averages about 150 to 180 a month. So those are 150 plus leads that come across our desk. We check out the real estate. We contact the estate either by phone or by letters if there's no phone numbers, and we get half phone numbers. And all we're doing is opening their eyes to the options that are available to them. This is called the PR, the personal rep of the estate at this time. This is the person that the deceased wanted to handle all of the affairs, and one of those affairs could be selling the property. All we're going to do is, after we educate them, is we're going to, they're going to tell us which way they want to go if they're going to sell. And with this approach, we generate now business and we generate future business. Now business being those are going to sell within probate. So I want to back up a little bit and just kind of talk about the probate process a little bit, because some of you probably have never been through it, or some of you that have been through it really don't understand it, or it's just been the court confirmation process. And we're not talking about the court confirmation process, okay? So let's go through a few of my slides, and I'm going to kind of get through some of these quick because I want to make sure I give you enough to open your eyes tonight. Then we'll give you my email address if you want to pursue any more questions you may have. We'll go from there, okay? So why is probate such a great opportunity? Well, for me this year, we've closed over 39 sides probates. Like I said, about 12 million in closed production. And we have 3 million in offers in escrow, offers on the table, and rehab listings of our flip investors that we have sold probates to, rolling over into 2016. So we basically generated about $15 million worth of business in this year. Fabulous. And those 39 probate homes, it wasn't 39 homes, it was about 17, 18 homes, but we double end some of those, and we bought them and flip them, and then we get the side going out. So what I do now, opposed to what I did in 1987 to 2000, where all I did was buy and sell probates. I didn't really wear my agent hat. It was just my investor hat. What I do now is when we have a conversation with a probate PR, personal rep, now that's the person before the court approval for them to be an executor or administrator, that person has the right to do certain things. And all I used to do then is try to buy the property. And when it connected, we connected. I did a deal, and if I didn't get the deal, then I tried to find another buyer for it. And I was doing about 15 sides a year that way. Most of them was buy and sell and flip it, okay? What I realized when things slowed down in the market, and we really couldn't buy homes 2007, 8, 9 in probates, it was risk money. To buy something for 100 grand under market, and then before you finish your rehab, the next sale, the REO across the street just sold for 50,000 over the last comp. We couldn't put investor money into that, so we stayed out of it. But the way I survived and kept my business going is during those times bring other opportunities, and those opportunities are landlords who want to keep properties, and that's when they buy, when the market goes down. And there's always retail buyers out there that will take advantage of the market pricing if it's gone down. Maybe the buyers that hold, your entry buyers, are having a hard time getting loans or whatever, but there are buyers out there. So what we do is whatever the market conditions are, we match our business model to them, okay? So this is steady business, and this is what kept me afloat 2008, 9, 10. We're not affected by the economy. There are people passing away every day. And most of the time, at least 50 to 60% of the time, the estates are going to be selling the home during the probate process. And probably another 20, 30% are going to sell after the probate process, which takes about 7 months on average. Now, I'm speaking about the California process, okay? And the way we do our business in California, and the way I help my students across the country, is I have them learn the California probate process because it's the strictest in the country, and we have 2 ways to go. One is the old court confirmation process, which you've probably, some of you on here, if you've done a probate, you're probably aware of, and the other one is through the independent administrations, which is more is what you see nowadays in most of the listings that are coming out on the MLS. It'll say no court confirmation needed. So if you see no statements in the agent comments, what that is saying is they're going through the Independent Administrations Act, which was enacted back in '87, and that's why I jumped on it. And I worked it till 2000 with basically no competition whatsoever. Okay, so we're not affected by the economy. Doesn't matter if it's up market, down market, whatever. Death is not a trend. Like I said, it's happening every year. Okay, and the way we approach this is we don't consider ourselves ambulance chasers. I know some people will put that label on us. What we are doing is we're not going in and asking an estate to sell their house to us at 70 cents on the dollar. We're going in and showing them their options, and that could be a wholesale as is purchase. It could be a little higher purchase to a landlord. It could be a retail. Whatever they want after we educate them. So you as investors, and my agents, of course, it's a no-brainer. You're going in there, you have investors that you represent. You're trying to buy the property at the right price. Things doesn't work out right. Well, we say instead of leaving that deal and moving on to the next, while you're going through your due diligence, you're looking for a landlord or a retail buyer that if your deal doesn't go because of money, that number couldn't make it right for the investor once all the inspections were in. A lot of things were called, maybe a foundation or whatever. It just didn't make the purchase price right. Or rather than leaving that, going on to the next deal like most investors do and agents, we have another opportunity here. And that would be, hey, what is this magic number finally that the estate wants? They're in a different mindset when they first talk to you about selling or listing than they are 2 or 3 weeks later in escrow. And you have to understand that psychology and the mindset. We're not bending numbers to make it favor us. We're just doing business 101. It's common sense. If this property doesn't warrant a retail price, you don't know that until after your inspections are in. It's just not going to work. So we educate, we do all this up front, so we usually will put that deal together. And if not, we do a level 2, which is our double end, or wholesale it if you're an investor, or we do our level 3, which would, if we're an agent, we're going to take a listing on it, try to get them more money if we don't have a buyer. And we've cemented ourselves for the last month, 6 weeks, on making sure they understand we know what we're doing. We're probate pros, okay? So it's consistent business in and out. So our investors that we work with, I work with a group of investors now, because I've been speaking a lot more in 2014 and 2015. I'm getting a lot more people that call me or email me. They want to get involved. They want probate properties. Well, for me to do a probate property with an investor, I only keep 2 or 3 what I call first-tier investors with me, and it's all based on margins and other things that we need for them to do to keep us a step ahead of our competition. Okay, so any investors out there, that's another conversation that we'll have. So, but the investors are going to be able to buy properties to flip, and those that don't work, you'll be able to wholesale those out to somebody else because you got to get a little bit more. The difference is these properties are not on the MLS. There's nowhere to go to get this information unless you know how to access it. I have researchers in every superior court around the Bay working there every week, pulling out all these new probate files that have been established by the estate attorney. We're scrubbing title to make sure that property is actually owned by the deceased, checking out a few other things. If there's other property, then we're making contact to the estate. That's what we do every week, okay? And then we farm out these properties to our investors. And if they're going to buy the property, we have a set fee that we charge them, and it's factored into the number. If you're an investor and you're doing this yourself and finding your properties to probate, which you can do, we actually teach how to do that yourself if you want, then you don't have any middleman. That property would be whatever price that you end up working out with the estate. And then you're either going to close it and flip it, or you're going to wholesale it, okay? So real estate agents, now I wear both hats, agent and an investor. So real estate agents, we teach you how to double end sales. I double end 90% of every property that I touch, okay? And again, those are 100% off of the MLS. I'm not dealing on the MLS. I refuse to sell carpets and drapes and chase deals with 10, 15 other agents and overbidding and the craziness that goes, okay? Where there's a whole better way to work. And you're going to take more listings just by default. I tell people when I'm speaking is I don't want listings, really. I don't want them. What I want is escrows. When I'm talking to an estate, I say, I want to bring you an offer. And I just have to find out what type of offer do they want. And then we put that deal together. And the probate arena, I've already said, there's less competition here. And then we also have another thing that we do here is we do what's called farming probates. Real estate agents know this term. Investors may know this term. All the real estate agents, when they come into business, the way I came in, old school way of being trained, was we would farm a subdivision of 500 to 1,000 homes, and we're going to brand ourselves over 6 months, and we're going to have our picture out there, our company, and we're going to be the agent that hopefully 25% or 30% of those homeowners, when they get ready to sell this next coming year, they're going to call us for the deal. That's farming, okay? Now think about this for a minute. That's 500 to 1,000 homes at large. It just happens to be in the Northgate area of Fremont or whatever, USA. So somebody has to decide they're going to sell. It could be for a number of reasons, job transfer, divorce, whatever, but we know it does happen. Usually 10 to 20% of any subdivision will turn over within a year, okay? So it does happen. And that's a good way for real estate agents to do business. They don't do it again like they used to do in the 70s and 80s when I was coming up. But that's how we generated probably 80% of our business. What we do is farm probates. Now, those 1,800 homes that come across our desk every year, just in our counties here, mind you, okay? Half of them, maybe 60%, are going to sell during the probate process. The other half are going to sell, or out of the other half of those, or 30%, are going to sell after the probate process. They've taken title to the property. So what we do is farm these people. They've raised their hand and said, yeah, Gary, we're thinking we're going to sell, but we're not going to do it until after probate completes. And that's about a 7-month process. So what we do is we start marketing on a drip system to them every month, just like you would do with a regular farm. And our mug or my team agent is there, and we're just servicing these people and talking about probate, talking about the regular real estate market, just like you would normally do to any subdivision when you're farming. Now, what happens is after final distribution and they take over the property, and I've seen this, remember, this is over 28 years, so this is all by experience, not philosophy here. What happens is these people take a property, they either move in a family member, or they rent it to the public at large, okay, or they move into it themselves. And what happens when they rent it to a family member, sooner or later the family member can't pay rent, and because it's family, they should understand that, and it starts bringing on problems that sets a pattern that keeps repeating itself. If they rent it to the public at large, you know those headaches. If you're not a seasoned landlord and understand what it takes to keep that going, hire property managers, but you still have some hands-on, and if you have never done that before, that nightmare hits you quick and hard. And on those first 2 situations, these people want out of here. And if we're still hitting them on a monthly basis, who's going to have a good chance of getting that call when they say, hey, we want out of this thing. We're done with this rental market. Sell this thing for us, Gary. Okay? Now, do we get them all? No. But it adds to our overall production. Okay? The ones that move in, same thing happens. They start sitting on free money for a while. They're sitting on $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Maybe they didn't even own their home. They were renting, but they wanted this house. It was a family keepsake or whatever. Or they just wanted to have their own place, and they got into it. Sooner or later, sitting on that money will kind of light a fire under them. And rather than refinance, a lot of times they can't get a loan. Okay, they just inherited the property free and clear. So their next best thing is to sell the property. If they want a loan, we'll help them with that. We bring in guys like Bo that will give them a loan that they just based on equity. So those people pick up the phone and say, hey, we're getting rid of it. So we have business now that say, yeah, we're going to do something during probate, and we have business after final distribution is what that's called, when the probate is done. Okay? So I want to talk a little bit about probate right now. What is probate? Some people, when I speak out there, they've heard the word, they don't know what it means. And all it means is that the assets of a deceased person is going to go through probate to pay all creditors that have outstanding, amounts due to them, and then distribute the assets of the states, whatever left, to the heirs. Okay, that was a home that was in probate when that happens in that sale. Now, I like to tell people every time I'm out, always give a tip. Hey, get a living trust. If you don't have one right now, most people are getting them now. I'm starting to see it's more and more every year. Hasn't slowed my business down much. I still get 150 to 180 leads every month around the Bay Area, but they're coming out more. We're seeing trusts a lot. But what happens with trusts is they don't deliver the title correctly, or something in the assets wasn't, and it has to go through probate for part of it, and that leads us to the house within the trust, and then we work our same magic with them and see if they want to sell it or whatever, okay? So would you rather be door knocking or cold calling people if they want to have a real estate need, or would you rather talk to people that have a free and clear house they're going to have to sell now or later and build a relationship with them and get your deal? That's what we do, okay? And I hope you understand that, because it's key to this. So who are the players in probate? Well, there's the PR. I've been saying this name, the personal rep. That is just the person that the deceased, put in a will or is chosen by the family, if there's no will, to be either the executor or the administrator of the deceased and carry through with this horrendous process that they have to do with all these tasks. That is really, if you've ever been in it, it's terrible to do this. Now, if you have a living trust, your family bypass all that. You don't go through probate. That's why you get it, okay? The executor just means that person, that PR, was appointed by will. Administrator, who's the same person, they have the same duties and functions. There was no will, so they're appointed by the court, but it's usually through an agreement between the heirs and the family, okay? There's an estate attorney that's going to be involved in this, and that can be a problem, because usually a state attorney's going to have their own real estate agent, or guys they know that they can, put on notice that there's a property coming, and we kind of mess up the waters when we get in there. So the way I work this is I bypass the estate attorney. We go to the PR first before they're even thinking about selling the property, and we give them the straight scoop, and find out what they want to do after they know all their options, okay? We have, several options that saves them money fast and get this thing done and get them back to their regular life. And that's what you have to get good at, is be able to explain that to the PR. It's not about, hey, I'm the best listing agent in San Leandro and I'll get you the most money than anybody. I mean, every agent who calls says that, right? Or, hey, I got an investor deal. I want to buy your house today, all cash. I'll close in 5 days. I'll give you more than anybody else. Well, they're saying that they haven't seen the house yet. So how realistic is that, okay? Most of the times they're just trying to get in there to tie up the property. So when you're a probate consultant like we are, and you can be an agent or an investor and be this way, because when you learn to talk this way to the estate, they're going to learn to trust you. And for you investors out there, we teach you how to have your agents in place, that if they need to go retail with the property and list it on the MLS, you're referring it to them, and you're going to get a referral fee out of that if you're licensed, or if you're not licensed, we show you how to get perks from your agent who's getting 5 or 10 leads a month on this. Do you think you agents on here tonight would like to have 5+ leads a month from home sellers that are going to sell the property that are free and clear? I'm sure you would. And would you take care of that investor that was sending you this? So that's why we tell all our investors, you call every lead that you get monthly. And for those that are going to sell retail, that's still an opportunity for you to send it to your lead agent. Now, they need to know probate. Now, if you're in the Bay Area, we ask all of you to call us, because my team will take care of that, and we'll take care of you on a referral basis or on your own real estate. If you're not licensed, we take care of you. You get a credit. We reduce all the fees, okay? Hope you see how this works. There's a probate referee. Probate referee is appointed by the court. Usually they're a CPA. They could be a real estate agent sometimes, but normally it's a CPA. What they do is they have to appraise the home at the time of death. So if the probate, let's say the person died last year, and they go through a mourning period. So by the time the probate starts, usually the mourning period is over with, the heavy mourning, and the family just wants to move out, clear the business out. So they have to go through this probate process. So they have to have, the property appraised by the CPA or whoever, probate referee, to find out the value at the time of death. So if they died a year ago, they need to know what the value was at that time. Now, it has nothing to do with our sale, okay, under the IAEA. We don't need this, but many attorneys want it, and then that's where they're going to go into play with this old rule. It has to be appraised each year from the time of death. So if it was a year ago, it would be appraised now. The problem with these referees appraisals are their drive-by or windshield. For any of you old school people on here tonight, that's where they don't go in the house. They just drive by it, or their assistant drives by it, takes pictures. They get a comp service, usually not an MLS comp service. It's one of the other ones, and they put a value. And the value is normally higher than a house is actually. They don't go in. They don't see condition. I can tell you horror stories, of estates that were held up for months because the wrong appraisal, and nobody would buy it at 90%. So guys like me that know how to do this with these appraisals, we go in and get them changed. We know how to do that, even if the estate attorney wants to use it in our sale under this independent administrations. We don't need them, okay? Title company is involved in this. You got to have a title company. It's not just a title company that you've done business with as an investor and agent for years. They have to know probate. So the first question we ask a student to ask their title company is, talk to your title officer, ask them how many have they personally closed. And then when they tell you that, if it's not a ton, then you got to ask them three things. What is the requirements that you need for title to insure this and close this probate? And see what they say. Now, I'm going to go into this in a minute, but there's just three things we have to do. If they don't know that, even as good as they may be, you need a probate title escrow officer that they'll make you money. I use 3 companies. One's been with me 30 years. Even my regular real estate business before probate. One's been with me about 12 now, and I have another one. I've known her for a lot of years, but I didn't start using their company till about 3 years ago. So I have 3. They all know probate, and they'll make you money. You need a hard money lender like Bo and his group, because I've done deals. I just closed one where we used the hard money to cash out the estate within the probate so they can go buy another house they wanted. Now, you don't know this yet, but when you sell a house in probate and it closes escrow, all the proceeds go to a deceased bank account. A federal ID number is applied for, and an account is established at a bank, and then when the escrow closes, all the proceeds go there. The executor and the family, the heirs, do not have access to that money. You have to wait until final distribution, which could be another 6-7 months away. So, but what you can do, if you know how to do this, is you can pull money out. You use a certain law that allows us to do this. I just closed one 2 weeks ago, and the attorney fought me the whole way. I finally got what I wanted. We closed it. We got the cash to buy the executor a house out of state, free and clear, and then we closed the deal out. The loan was paid off. The rest of the money went to the title, or went to the bank account, and they're going to close this probate in January. But they've bought their home now, took advantage of it. If you know that, it'll get you extra 3-4 deals a year, okay? You need a project manager. Now, you may be one yourself. I have a project manager we use. They'll go with it and assess, what we need on a property cosmetic-wise, everything else. When we get our reports, they tell me what we're going to do. My project manager has dealt with just about every city around the Bay. They know everybody, so it costs you a little bit money, but it's well worth it. They'll save you time and make you more money. You should have an investor network. Even if you're an investor yourself, you want other people, wholesalers, that you can send this to if you can't buy it yourself. Now, my investors work on a 10% margin. I'm not going to go into that too much, but if they can't do a deal for a 10% margin, they're not on my tier 2. So a lot of people need 15, 18% margin to do a flip because they have a lot of mouths to feed in the deal, okay? So I use generally one investor, all his money. He'll gladly do it at 10% margin, and most of the time they're higher. They're 15 plus. We've gone as high as 30% this year. But they know if they ended up doing a deal and they were totally into the deal for $500,000, that's purchase, fix up, holding, everything, resale costs, and they end up making 10%, 50 grand, they're happy. Usually they make more though. But if that investor can't do that in their own mechanics of their group, then there's no sense in me dealing with them, okay? And believe me, once you know what you're doing with probates, you have more investors and money than you really need, okay? And then agent network, like I said, you want to have agents, if you're an agent, that you can say, hey, I'm in the Alameda County, Castro Valley area, and I may have a property like I just did in Morgan Hill. Well, I have an agent out in Morgan Hill that I can work with. If it takes it going to the market, that'll be the agent I'll work to deal with on there. That's a perk they get. And it comes back and forth. When they're out there getting leads and I show them how to do it and they have an appointment or whatever, I'll go with them, okay? And let me clear that up. That's why I do this, okay? I do this because this brings me not only the 39 sides we did, okay, but I'm not in the trenches anymore going after these properties. I'm teaching people how to do it, and they're bringing the properties to me here. So on average, every student that I mentor and how to do this start to finish usually brings 1 to 3 deals to me before they can stand alone. And that's basically how we work right now. So that is my motive for teaching as many people as I can how to do this, and the standard time will determine who can do this and who can't. But the ones that can, maybe that 5% group, will be bringing deals to me at the beginning. Okay? And that's fair. Yes.
Oh, hey, Gary, let me ask you a couple questions. There's a lot of investors on the line. Some of them are in Las Vegas and Reno, and obviously the rules are a little bit different than they are in California. But for an investor, can you recommend, what you would do if you were strictly an investor looking for deals? Would you direct mail, phone calls? Did you kind of put the investor mindset on, getting
Sure.
started in trying to find probates, how
Sure.
you build rapport with realtors that work the probate market?
Sure. We let the deal kind of do its own talking when we get into the deal. But to start with, we teach our group phone call is the first way in, not a letter. There's more letters going out today than ever before. They all basically say the same thing. So how is a PR going to take your letter out of that stack of 25? So we call. We have a system that we do 3 times a week, and we're calling. We have a script that we use. It's not about listing. It's not about buying. It's about education, and that gets us in the door. And I come on the appointment, and we go through this whole process and teach them what they need to know to make the correct decision. And because of that, we usually win their business, either buying that house as an investor. Because if you're an investor and you go in there and you're talking to them about buying a property, find out what they want, and it's not going to work for you. You have built a relationship there, and you say, okay, well, Joe, look at this property's, it's worth $100,000. I can't pay you more than $75 for it, but I have an associate that I deal with, an agent that works this area, and he knows probate, and that's who you want. He could probably bring you what you're looking for. So every property that you don't buy because of numbers, you still have an opportunity to earn. So, but bottom line, phone call first, letter second. Of course, the ones we don't get the phone number, we'll send a letter package. You could show up in court when they go for their PR approval for executor if you want to be aggressive. You can go to the property if you want to be aggressive. That can work good or bad. We've gotten deals that way. We've lost deals that way. So it just depends what the investor is comfortable with in his work model right now. To make it big, make it right, you have to kind of get out of your comfort zone. Okay? All right? Most people want to just send a letter. All right? Does that answer that, Bo?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, or should we go on?
I'll have some more later, but go ahead.
Okay, we'll talk about Nevada because it's not too different than California. You still have to go through the process. There's some 20,000 and under. You don't have to do anything. Under 200,000, you have to do a semi. It's kind of like what we call a spousal petition here, or small value probate. And then over 200, you got to do the process. So not too different than what we do here, but in any event. Okay, so court confirmation. A lot of people still have some interest in court confirmations. We we rarely go to a court probate confirmation. That's where the property has been sold under the old court confirmation process. You had to put up a 10% deposit. You can't pay any less than 90% of this bogus appraisal. You got to wait 6 to 8 weeks to get on the court calendar, and your money's sitting in escrow to get your court approval. And then once you're in the court, you have a chance to be overbid. So really, now we bought a few there over the years, but mostly what we use the court confirmation process sales for is for retail buyers or hold investors that want to hold the property. Because a lot of our hold investors, if they can get a good property 10% on the market and going to keep it as a rental, they'll do that. And keep in mind, probate properties aren't like your trustee properties, your REOs. These properties usually are in great shape. I've been in there with a table that's still set from all the dishes and everything before the the person passed away, and nobody has taken anything personal property out of it. The house is in great shape, so it's a whole different type of property. Okay, so what we do is through this Independent Administrations Act, which I told you. Now this is California, 1987. Okay, this allows us to take the property out of probate, any deposit we want. That's negotiable with the PR, the executor. Any price agreed upon. We can close in 35 days. Now, it used to be 15 or 20, but the reason for 35 and even 45 in some cases is if we have an investor coming in there or a buyer buying it and they're doing a loan that it has to go through this TRID process now, it takes a little bit longer. But we've closed them in usually 21 days, and there's a reason for that because we have to go through a process called Notice of Proposed Action. I'll explain that in a minute. There's no overbid. There's no court confirmation. That's where we hang our hat today, and we do 80%, probably more like 90% today go through the IAEA. Now, in the old days, from 87 to 2000, 80% used to go through the court confirmation process. So I had to deal with that and buy my number right in order to buy a property to flip. If I couldn't get it out of court, we were still able to do it, but a lot of extra work. Okay. So title requires. Now in California, our title companies require these items to close a probate and issue title insurance. You have to have letters of testamentary. Now what that is the signing authority for the PR, the executor, to be able to sign the grant deed. That's all you need to know about it. That allows them, because usually the title's in their family member's name or there's somebody else. It's not in theirs name 80% of the time. So how are they going to sign the grant deed over to you or to a new buyer if they're not on title? So the letters of testamentary is certified, comes from the court during the probate process, comes in really quick up front. We get a certified copy to our title company, and we're good. Now our PR or executor has signing authority. Then there's letters of administration. It's the same form, the same authority. The difference is it's for an administrator that wasn't named in the will. They're just, was approved by the court and the family. And then you have to provide what's called a notice of proposed action that I mentioned earlier. What that is, there's a 20-day period, 15-day notice, 5-day mail allotted. And what that is for the family members to all know that have an interest in the property to receive this letter from the estate attorney and make sure that they agree to the terms of the sale. So you have to make sure that we have no issues there. So that takes about 20 days to do it. Now you can waive it. I just had one that went into escrow, and it's. I just want to make sure I don't have to hit this if it goes blank. Okay. See you, Gary. So that's another document you're going to have. Now, I just recently had a few agents that are getting involved with probate with us that were in probates for 6 months. They couldn't get it closed. They didn't know what they were doing. Their title company didn't know what they were doing. They didn't even have a probate open. Okay? So there's a way to do all that, but you have to understand. But these are the 3 items you have to do. That's all we need, and we're going to closing in as little as 21 days or less with a waiver, or if there's a loan involved, it could be 35 to 45 days. Okay? So how we make money with these probates is we teach investors to buy these properties through us. We show them how to get perks on the properties they can't. They could do it on their own, and we're doing flips with them. And when we're doing this, we're going to earn a fee going in and a fee going out because we're requiring the listing for them to be a tier 1 investor of ours. Okay? And normally I'm picking up 6% going in. Of course, the numbers have to work. Because when we're dealing with an estate, we're dealing in net dollars. We don't have commissions in there. That's a tip. If you have commissions in there from your agent representing you, or you're an agent, you're trying to sell a property, you put a commission in there, it's just gonna bog everything down. There's ways to do it once you're in due diligence the way we do it. Of course, our cash buyers pay us our fee. They sign a commission agreement as part of their closing costs. If there's a loan involved, you have to do another step, a little tweaking of the contract in order to get that commission in there so that buyer's not paying it out of pocket. Okay? Real estate agents, like I said, if we can't sell it to our flip investor, we're going to find a whole investor, a retail buyer. We still charge our 6%. Now, some of the deals we do, I personally deal in the 900 and above. I have to come down to a 4%, I still do it. And that's a big fee, and I know that, but a lot of times I'm networking with another agent, maybe even a bird dog, so we need those big fees in order to make what we want to make. But it still works when it's an investor. It still works for the whole investor. And for a retail buyer, you agents on here tonight, I'm sure many of you investors that know the market, if you talk to a retail buyer trying to buy an entry home or something, they're frustrated because there's low inventory, they're being outbid, they're frustrated. And if you go to one and say, look, the house is worth 100 grand, if it goes on the market, it could be overbid, but the estate has agreed to take $94,000. They want to be done with it. If you're willing to pay this, you have to pay our fee. You'll be in it for 100,000. Do you want this property? And believe me, I have never had one say no, because it's a great deal for them. It's a great deal for everybody. The estate's getting what they want. You know, even though they could expose the house and maybe get a little bit more, there might be 10 heirs and all that 10, you know, that overage may not make that much of a difference. They want to be done with this. These people's lives are on hold. And a lot of times they're from out of state and they moved into the property to take care of this. So that's how we live today, okay? You're going to take, agents are going to take listings just by default because you're not going to have a buyer, your flip's not going to work, or it was a retail situation from the get-go and you couldn't get your buyer yourself the way we do it under the MLS. It's going to have to go there, and you're going to take the listing because who better to take it, because you've already established with them for the last month, maybe more, that you're a probate expert. And like we do here, we're a team. They may have 4 or 5 calls from my team during the negotiations. They're going, my God, I've heard this many times. You know, how many people are in this group? You know, this one's handling this, this is doing this. These are the guys we want to be with. And we have our letters of recommendations from attorneys, you know, past executors, past administrators, you know, buyers. It's laid out a carpet, you know. And I didn't start there, folks. I said earlier, it took me a little over a year and a half to do my first deal. But I knew I wanted to be in probate. And I stayed with it, and we made 75 grand at 87. That's a lot of money in 87 on our first deal. That's why I've been there and never looked back since, okay? So what we teach our investors here in the Bay Area and agents, and you can do this really anywhere, is to partner up with us, our team. And we're going to find you a probate, and we're going to close it for you. You're going to earn while you're learning this, whether you're an investor or an agent, all right? 3+ deals, you're going to be ready to go alone, investor or agent, or you can stay with us. I got some investors and some agents just want to be bird dogs. Pay me 25% on the deal, and I'll send them to you. I don't want to do all this other mumbo jumbo, okay? They bring us deals, we'll buy them, okay? That's how we do this, and that's how I've earned 6 figures for many, many, many years with probate real estate, and I'm teaching more people to do that, which is helping me, helping them. I'm passing on this knowledge, and I still get a chill today when I talk to somebody at a meetup. I think Bo was at the one in Saratoga, Thomas Brigelman's, that there's probably 150 people in the room, and I asked how many did a probate this year. There was like 4 hands up, and 2 of them were my students, and the other one went to a court confirmation sale. Then there was 1 IAE. That's in a room full of investors and agents who do this for a living. That's how little worked probates are. And people say, well, there's more people getting into them and all that. Yes, there are. Why would I train people to be my competition if I know that most of them won't stay till the finish line and make this a viable, you know, revenue source for them? Okay, so I've kind of gone through this. You know, I just can't say enough in an hour or an hour and a half about this process, because there's so much more. So what we do is when we speak out, we just try to open eyes. And for those that have an interest in learning more, and even if you're in Nevada, I have students just about every state in the country, Canada, France, Hawaii, and all you do is you learn the California process, which is strictest, and then you adjust to yours, because it'll tell you where to go to find your lead source, where to go, you know, what happens to, you can compare. Is there an IAEA here? Do we need that to get it out of court? Once you know the system, it's easy to adjust to your area, okay? So what we do is we like to send out it's a free report. We're not selling you anything here. 5 ways to earn with probate homes. And if you want that report, take my email down there. That's my personal email, GaryD.MrProbate@gmail. We'll send you out that report. We do webinars all the time. We have a probate meetup that we do. Meetup, if you're in the Bay Area, probate meetup. .com. We do a quarterly meeting, and we're coming to SoCal. I have my counterpart that I trained who is now leading SoCal with our team, and we're going to be starting the probate quarterlies meetups down there starting in January, and kind of closing in on California. So there's a lot more detail in the 5 ways. You can email me your questions to my email address. I'll be happy to speak to anybody that wants to know a little bit more about this. You can tell I enjoy this. I've been doing this long, and I appreciate your time and let me be on here tonight. So Bo, I'll throw it back to you.
All right, thank you. Anyways, I've done one probate deal so far, and my partners and I, it was a 6-figure flip, so it was really good. I don't even know all the ninja tricks, so I'm always constantly trying to figure it out and listen to Gary, so I can get in there and get some probate deals. I'll see if I can get Gary to do a follow-up Google Hangout down the road where we kind of focus on the difference for Nevada. And then I will also see if we can get Gary's son, Gary Jr., to maybe go through how he scrapes the leads and the lead service and what to look for and things like that. And that could be a whole nother REI hangout. So if you want to continue to go to these events, we're going to do one a month, and you just on this website you're on right now, reihangouts.com. Just put in your email address, and we'll notify you when we're interviewing. We're going to try to interview one expert in a field every month. So stay tuned. And if you need hard money in California or Nevada, call me first. My number is 925-852-8261. I can help you get your projects funded and give you some good advice. And anyways, thanks for coming on, Gary. And anything else you want to depart with here?
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah, if you're in the Bay Area, Gary does a great training on how to access all the probate courthouse leads, okay? And you want to have the right leads because a lot of them come with the wrong property info because they're taking it off the petition. So that would probably be a very good hangout meeting to do, and Gary can kind of go through that, and he walks you through every courthouse. Now, of course, we provide that for our students and investors in the Bay Area. We have our service that every Wednesday night delivers them on average 40 plus new probate files from the week before with real estate, and our subscribers can have that with everything done for them, tax scrub and whatever, or you could do it yourself. It's about 2 hours a week per courthouse, and we encourage people to do that as well, learn the system, and then once you get busy, might not want to spend those 2 hours doing that, or you'll pay somebody else probably more than the service like $97 a month. It's cheap. So outside of that, it's a whole new world out there. I hope some of you guys open your eyes. We love Nevada. I think we're going to be doing a meetup down in Nevada next year. We're putting it on the books to do, where I can spend a little bit more time and actually go through our probate contract and addendums and the language you need to control the probate. So, okay, great, Bo. Thanks
Very
again.
good. You're welcome. And let me also thank Bill Davis, who has helped build the page you're on and helped me set up these Google Hangouts. So I've known him for a couple years now, and he's teaching me internet marketing because obviously the more you can do online as a real estate investor or agent or hard money lender, you're going to get maximum exposure. And say hi, Bill. There he is. I can't hear him, but
thanks, Bill.
Anyways, you guys have a good night. We're going to have this video archived, and we'll also have show notes with Gary's contact information, his email address, and as well as mine and Bill's as well. So look forward to seeing you guys on the next reihangouts.com. All right, bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.